all about the little details.
It's important to have the best skis and best glide as possible.
You have to just train hard and be focused on what you can do better.
You have to have focus on yourself to have the highest speed.
The speed of my ski is extremely important on race day. I have the confidence my skis will carry me to the finish.
All right, well, good night or good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this Fischer virtual race night. The season is upon us and it's time to get fired up. And we thought, what a better way to kick off everyone's season than to introduce you all to some of our star athletes. I'm super excited tonight to have some of our America's best skiers. They are getting ready to prepare for the upcoming season. I'm Kikkan Randall. I've been a 5-time Olympian in cross-country skiing and a Fischer athlete for life. And now that I'm done competing, I just totally live the skiing lifestyle. And it's really fun to see the snow falling and to get going with things tonight. So we've got a fun program ahead. This is going to be an hour long, sharing some stories from our World Cup athletes here. You're going to get a sneak peek at some of the most exciting gear for the 2021 season, and stick around because we're going to give away some prizes at the end of the show tonight. You'll be able to register for those in the chat. So to kick things off, I'm going to let each of our athletes introduce themselves, starting with Sadie Bjornsen.
Well, good evening, everybody. I am now actually Sadie Maubet Bjornsen. I have the world's longest name for a ski racer. I might give Ingvild Flugstad Bothberg a run for her money. And I have been on Fischer since the very beginning. Since I was walking, I was skiing, and I come from the Methow Valley. I grew up in Mazama, Washington, and I had Fischer skis on my feet since I started. And I'm now based out of Anchorage, Alaska. I've been living here for 11 years in total. So my life is quite divided between Alaska and Washington. And I would describe myself as a ski racer, a world traveler, but also just a skier in general. I am married into an alpine side of ski racing, and so I've kind of joined both sides, and I guess a skier all around.
Awesome. All right, next up, Kevin Bolger.
What's up, world? My name's Kevin Bolger. I'm currently in my hometown of Minocqua, Wisconsin. But I currently was living in Park City, Utah all summer, trying to get ready for the upcoming season and prepping for that out west. I'm a part of the Sun Valley Ski Education Foundation up in Sun Valley, Idaho, and I guess was kind of balancing my summers or bouncing around between Sun Valley and Park City this summer, and that's been great. And God, I mean, I think I've been skiing on Fischers for, I think when the first hole ski came out, I saw that thing and I was like, that's what I want to be on. And I think I've been on it since then, and I know I have been. And what I like to describe kind of like what I do as an athlete is it's artwork. It's like poetry in motion, what we're doing. It's a beautiful thing. And I love doing it every day. That feeling of gliding across snow is something pretty spectacular. And I think everyone should get out and experience it.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. All right, next up, Julia Kern.
Hey everyone, I'm Julia Kern. I'm currently based in Stratton Mountain, Vermont. And I grew up outside of Boston in Waltham, Mass, skiing on a golf course. And now I've been in Stratton for 5 years, as well as Dartmouth College, where I go to school. So I've been bouncing around a bit too. And I've been skiing on Fischer since I can't really remember exactly when, but all I remember is my parents strapped me on these 2-meter long skis, and I just said, okay, go down the hill, figure it out. And so I always was skiing on really long hand-me-down skis because they said longer skis are faster. So those are my early memories on Fischer skis. And I would describe myself as a ski racer, but also just an adventure enthusiast. I love just getting out on any kind of skis, adventuring, traveling, and just feeling the motion of gliding across snow and covering ground. And I think some of the most epic skis are the ones where you're crest cruising or going point to point or skiing for that hot cocoa on the trail. So that's how I would describe myself as a ski racer.
Awesome. Thanks, Julia. And last but definitely not least, Logan Hanneman.
Hey guys, Logan Hanneman up here in Alaska. I'm a member of the APU Nordic Ski Center here in Anchorage, but I'm born and raised in Fairbanks, and that will always be my home. So that's that's where I'm at. But man, I've been Fischer athlete for many years. I think coming up on 11 or 12 back in the day, and it's been a great relationship ever since, and I wouldn't choose it any other way. So very stoked to continue being on the best brand. So I really enjoy ski racing, and in that it gives me an outlet really to just push yourself to the limit and set some high goals and see if you can reach those. And it's you can do that in other areas in life, but it seems like skiing you can. It's just really fun to keep setting marks and hitting them, and or not hitting them and figuring out why you didn't hit them. So that kind of describes, I guess, why I like ski racing and why I've continued. So yeah, it's a whole lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, great to get to know everybody. I think we're going to be able to unlock some fun new stories and perspectives from you tonight. I know you guys were all born out of a dinosaur egg somewhere, just perfect, perfect professional racers. Okay, no, just kidding. I'd love to hear how, I'm going to talk to Sadie and Julia on this one, how you got started, kind of briefly, but most importantly, I think a lot of our audience tonight are junior skiers, either middle school or high school. And so I'd love to know if there was a particular moment that kind of hooked you on skiing and put you on this path to be a professional racer. And then if you had a particular hero that you looked to growing up, whether it was in skiing or somewhere else. So Sadie, why don't you kick us off?
Well, I will start with probably when I was about a sophomore in high school. I went to my first international race. I went to World Juniors, and I remember, at the time I was interested in a ton of different sports. I loved running, I loved swimming, I loved biking, and I just had a really tough time trying to decide what I wanted to do because it was all so fun. And I went to my first World Juniors, and I remember I started dead last. And I was skiing around the course beforehand, and I was so intimidated because I felt like everybody was skiing so much faster than me. And I recall putting my glasses down and just kind of like crying through them, but not wanting anybody to know. And I was the last one on the start line for the sprint, and I was just thinking, well, at least it can't get any worse from here. And then I ended up going on and making it into the heats. And at the time, I didn't even know what it meant to like put your elbows out and guard your space. Like that was just a very foreign thing to me. But I just got super hooked. It was like, this is definitely what I want to do. Like, it was so exciting to see these girls who were winning that were so fast. Like, I had never even seen anything like that. And it's kind of crazy to believe, but I actually grew up in the era that we didn't really get to watch ski racing. It wasn't like it was on the TV, and I didn't know how to get my hands on videos and stuff. So I had these heroes, I guess, from like being talked about, on our club team, and they met how all the groups were named after famous skiers. So there was the Belmondo group and the Bill Koch group and so on. And so that's the only thing I knew about ski racing really, and that I knew that Norwegians were really fast. And so to go and see it live, I was like, oh, I'm hooked. Okay, like I don't care about the rest of these sports. Like I'm for sure in for cross country skiing. And so that was kind of the turning point that got me into it. And then a little bit further along, I moved up to Alaska to race NCAA skiing. And at the time, ironically so, Kikkan was my enormous hero at the time. And funny enough, she lived across the street because the way University of Alaska and Alaska Pacific University work is basically on the same campus, but one's on the top of the hill and one's kind of just below. And so it was really cool because I would ski around with my NCAA team, and we would cross the APU team sometimes, and they were like moving in this blue mass so fast. And I remember like Kikkan having a talk with me one time, and she was like, "Have you ever considered APU?" And I'm like, "Well, if you talk to me, sure." And so ironically, so I got to then go on and be on a team with my hero, who then became my teammate and my friend and stuff. And so it's been really cool how skiing has changed. You know, like when I was a young kid, I had posters of a lot of my heroes on the wall, and have since gotten to meet some of them. So yeah, that's kind of how the story of my skiing went.
And I promise I did not set up that question, but thank you. I'm glad that worked out. It was awesome to have you as a teammate. Julia, how did you get hooked on skiing?
Yeah, I would say actually a fairly similar story to Sadie. I would say it was my first international ski trip. I was 14 years old, my freshman year of high school. My freshman year of high school, I decided to give skiing a shot, train full time in the fall with my Cambridge Sports Union team out of Boston. And I had an injured shoulder, so I was no pole skiing, but I just wanted to hang out with my friends. So I just skied faster and got really, really strong legs so I could keep up with my teammates and socialize with them. And I thought it was the coolest thing that people wanted to go out and run for fun. And other team sports I played, it was okay, run suicides for punishment, not for enjoyment. And I was like, wow, these people want to go and run for fun. And like, this is what people love to do. And they're excited to train more and push each other. And so that got me hooked early in my freshman year, despite having an injury. So I just tried to keep up all I could. And then before I knew it, I qualified for my first international U18 trip. I didn't really know what it was at the time, but my coach was like, you should go. So I went over to Estonia. I had no idea what I was doing, like didn't come with a training plan, didn't know anything about my skis. I was just kind of wandering and lost, but it was an incredible experience. I got to meet a lot of athletes from different countries. We taught them how to play spoons in the hallway. So we played all these games. We all didn't really know how to communicate other than like sign language. And so that first experience was truly incredible, to travel to ski race and meet other athletes from other countries and see this community of skiers who are super passionate about getting outside and wanting to push each other and become better. And I got my butt kicked pretty badly in the first races. I was a nervous wreck, but it made me really hungry for more. So that first international trip was the turning point for me as well. And for my childhood hero, it was Kikkan Randall. I have many posters on the wall of Kikkan still in my room today. And it's been an incredible experience to join the team and become friends with Kikkan and learn from her throughout the years. And so it's been amazing to see all of my childhood heroes on the wall become my teammates and mentors and people I look up to. So I was really fortunate to have skiers and an ability to watch ski racing as a kid and people to look up to. So, and that was not set up by Kikkan either, I swear.
Whoa, that's super funny. You know, great stories. I think you guys pointed out a couple of really cool things that, you know, for a lot of us, we didn't know necessarily that we were going to be cross-country skiers from the outset. We did a lot of different activities and sports growing up, and then ended up coming to cross-country skiing for all these qualities that we recognized that were just really fun and exciting. And then that set us on a path, which ultimately led to making it to the highest international level, the World Cup. So I'm going to segue here a little bit, and I'm going to ask Logan, what was your first World Cup experience like? And were you intimidated? What did you learn? What did you take away from that experience?
Yeah, for sure. So my first World Cup experience was in 2018, right before the Olympics. I've only raced domestically and World Juniors and U23 championships up until then, but never a World Cup. And so I was highly nervous, as I get for most races, but this was a little bit out of the ordinary. This was the first time you were seeing these guys that you see on TV in real life, and you're like, oh my gosh, there he is. There's Claybo, there's so-and-so, there's everyone. And there's a little bit of like shock right there. And then you realize everyone's just there to ski race, and so are you. So that was tough. What made it really nice, I had my brother there as well. We were racing at the same time, and we both got to race that World Cup. So he had raced many World Cups before that time, and so he was. I mean, yeah, it was great to have him there, and we he helped me through that, and it was a classic sprint. That was my first World Cup in Planica. Perfect conditions, unbelievable conditions. So I couldn't have asked for a better first one. I mean, besides like the day before the race, you know, when you first see everyone for the first time and they're all out doing their pre-race routine and everyone looks so fast and you're just like, what in the world am I doing here? But once you got over that, then the actual race, it ended up going surprisingly well. And I finished 35th, so I didn't make the heats, but I was, oh man, I forget what I was, like a second and a half or something out. And so the takeaway from that is like, all these guys they're fast, but so are we, you know, and they're not out of reach, you know. And fortunately, over the years since then, I've been able to close that gap a little bit. So that was the big takeaway. It's just ski racing, and there's a few more TV cameras, but it's not that crazy. But it was a fun first experience, and yeah, really thankful to have my brother and good teammates there to work through it. And yeah, I remember that my skis that day were just phenomenal. So it was just, yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better first one. It was rare occasions for Europe when you have bomber tracks and perfect kicks. So it was great.
Awesome. Yeah. You know, I've had similar experiences myself. It's amazing how once you get over there, you first the shock and awe, and then like, wait a second, yeah, I can ski with these guys, and what a stage to perform on. Pretty cool. Kevin, I think your first World Cup experience was also kind of exciting. You had a breakthrough in the sprint. Was that in Lahti? Was that your first World Cup?
Yeah, Lahti, just after the Olympics. In Lahti, Finland. That was. I mean, I don't think you can ask for a better first World Cup ever. I mean, it's kind of like, just like Logan was saying, you go over there and you see all these guys that you've been watching on TV for however long growing up, and some of your idols, and it's all just kind of a lot to take in. But I was fortunate enough to have spent some time in Norway in the summers previously going over. So I knew some of the Norwegian guys a little bit. And that kind of helped diffuse the whole, these guys are like the best in the world, because, you know, these guys are also just eating bags of potato chips and slugging Cokes every night. Like, that's what they're doing. So, I mean, that kind of helped mellow things out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, all in all, I mean, that first World Cup in Lahti, I mean, I was able to qualify 16th, you know, so make the heats the very first time I'd ever gone over and raced internationally. So I previously never made World Juniors or U23s. So first time going toe to toe with those guys and like being like, oh yeah, I got it going on. This is great. And I remember crossing the line, and one of the FIST representatives like looks at me and he's like, hey, you're 16th. And I really wasn't sure what he was talking about. And so I kind of blew it off, and he's like, hey, you, like, Kevin, you're 16th. And I did like the look behind me. I'm like, who is this guy talking to? And he's like, you're 16th. And I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And yeah, I was able to ski in the heats, and went on to my first quarterfinal. And I remember just making lucky loser, and I was like freaking out. I didn't know what to do. People are asking for my skis, and I'm like, what do I do with my bib? Like, do I get in the Matt Whitcomb's like, you get to keep that. It's okay. Just keep going. I was like, what's going on? What's going on? I was like running around with a chicken with like my head was cut off, and it was crazy. And I was able to do that. And my brother lives in Norway, and he was over watching, and it was just like, all of it was so special. Yeah, it just that's what kind of keeps the fire going. I mean, knowing that stuff like that breakthroughs happen all the time. You never know what's going to happen. So yeah, that first World Cup was nuts. It was so awesome.
I'm gonna throw out a quick question to the group here. Competing in World Cups in Europe, it's a very different experience than a lot of the races we have in the United States. Do you guys have a comment about what it's like to race over there, where there are lots of spectators and these really professional venues, and want to give these junior skiers a little bit of a preview of what that's like?
Well, I had my first ever World Championships in Oslo in Holmenkoll, which was supposedly going to be like the most legendary championship ever. And it was. Nothing stopped it since. But I remember I didn't even know what crowds were like. I was familiar with hearing my dad up the course from like a mile away, like, "Go, Sadie!" That's what cheering was to me. So when I went there, it was insane. Like, we were at the start, we were like in the center, and there were just crowds. You couldn't even see space except for people. And I remember before the sprint, I just like yelled because I had to. And I couldn't hear myself. It was so loud. It was like being in the middle of a football stadium, and we were supposed to be performing in this environment, which of course I was so scared I just went faster. But it was like, that's a different experience than I grew up with. So it's a pretty wild, fun scene.
Yeah, I remember doing a sprint in Drammen and Drammen, Norway, and it's one of those city sprints where they bring the snow in and they lay it around on the city streets. And there was a rock band stage right next to the course. And I remember while I was warming up, every time I'd ski past the stage, I can feel the bass like beating in my chest. And it was a real mix to like be preparing for a race, but then like taking in all this really exciting atmosphere. And it was hard not to like warm up a little too hard with all that exciting stuff going on and people cheering. So the World Cup experience is pretty amazing. But of course, to be successful on the World Cup, takes an all-in approach to your training. So I wanted to ask Sadie and Kevin a little bit about what you've learned in really orienting your lifestyle around being a professional skier, particularly beyond the training. What is your daily schedule like, and what other things have you found are super important to make you a successful skier?
Kev, you want to start? Okay. When you were talking, Kikkan, I was just thinking about our coach up here at APU, Eric Flora. He always, like, his legendary saying since when we first came up here is like, you have a cup, and in your cup of life, you can fit several things, but not everything. And so I guess if I were to talk about my cup of life that I've designed as a professional athlete, I've always been somebody that I don't do well when I put everything towards one thing. Like, when I focus on something too much, I often, I don't achieve what I want. And I know that about myself. So that's really lucky, because I've known that about myself since I was really young. I need to be distracted. Like, if ironically so, last year when I was wearing the yellow jersey at the beginning of the year, I couldn't get my ski on, and not many people know this story, but my binding was broken and there was nobody around to give me a new binding. And here I was wearing the yellow jersey. I had never been so nervous in my entire life. And fortunately, my ski was broken, or my binding was broken. But these are the kind of things that are really, like, I rely on that. I need distraction, and I need to have broken my pole at the beginning of the race to have that amazing race, or, just not too centered, like not too focused on anything. And so one of the keys for me as a skier is I've been going to school the whole time while I've been racing overseas. I'm really lucky at APU. The way the time change works, if I have class from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. in Alaska, that's 5 in the morning to 7 in the morning in Europe. And so a lot of my ski racing career, I have convinced all the professors at our university to do their classes from 7 to 9 p.m. so that I can wake up in the morning and go to class and stay distracted, because that's my best version. So I have had school going on, and also, like, even just finding ways to socialize and finding ways to, enjoy other sports. Like I said, my husband is an alpine skier. So for me, that's meant like not just going Nordic skiing every day, but also, finding times to do a tour in the middle of the season when I'm supposed to be doing intervals or whatever it is. Like I've always needed to find ways to just kind of branch off on the side sometimes. And another fun thing that we do on the World Cup is we've gotten to know a lot of the different teams that we are racing and traveling with. And so finding time to talk to that, I guess when I was young, that little crush that I had, like I was determined to go say something to Petter Northug. Now it's evolved past that. I'm married. It's more like going to talk to I don't know, Eva or some young, star that came onto the scene and seems amazing. It's really just interesting to get to know people. So that's kind of how I've built my life around it, is just to have skiing at my core, but just make sure I'm always surrounded by a lot of other things.
Yeah, that's great. Kevin and Bjorn, what do you have to say? And then also I know you've spent some time with some of the Norwegians, so you can kind of maybe compare what you do or what you've learned from them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Sadie said it perfectly. I don't think she could have said it any differently. I completely agree. I mean, when I was kind of coming up as a junior, I had a coach say that if you wanted to be the best skier in the world, you have to make skiing your life. And I was just kind of well, I guess I'm not going to be the best skier in the world because I want to do all these other things. I want to get outside and water ski. I want to play soccer. I want to play basketball. I just want to do it all. So, but throughout that, I have, like Sadie said, I kept skiing at my core, but I've allowed myself to get distracted and do other things and find value in other things and how it can come back to skiing and support my skiing. I'm good at distracting myself and getting away, but I'm also just a really good chiller. I mean, when everyone says train, eat, sleep, I'm pretty good at doing that too. So I'm pretty good I can do both, which is great. But I just trying to find a little razzle dazzle to spice things up and do just different things. And I just drove from Bozeman a few days ago back here to Wisconsin, and there was snow out there. And I'm sure as much as I'm itching to get on snow and put on my cross country skis, I threw on my touring gear. I threw on my backcountry skis and I went touring for the afternoon, just to keep things fresh, because I know those are the little opportunity, those are the things you don't get to do all winter. So you got to keep your mind at ease and do things differently. And I think transitioning kind of all of that into my time I've spent in Norway, I don't think that's how the Norwegians base their training and how they're brought up. I think they do make skiing their life. And if you want to be the best, you have to. I think that's how they look at it. I can't say they do for sure or not, but they're very structured. But they do have a lot of fun too. I mean, they get out and I've gone and played golf with Diedrich, and I mean that's just as good at kind of relaxing the mind and doing different things. But skiing, train, eat, sleep is their life over there. So it's a little bit different, and I think it's different for everyone as well. But for me, getting distracted and getting out and doing different things is the key for me. Or just chilling and watching some Netflix. I mean, that too works. Let's be honest. We spend a lot of time in hotels, so.
Well, that's awesome. I think, what I'm hearing is that you guys are finding that balance in your life. I think that's a great word. Of course, it takes balance to be on your skis. So it makes sense that you would find balance in your racing career. But that there's a lot along the way that while it takes a lot of hard work and dedication, there's a lot of enjoyment too. And that's what I think is cool about, at least what I experienced over my 20 years as a professional racer, was it's a great lifestyle. You get to meet a lot of amazing people and do a lot of great things, and you can develop yourself in ways like Sadie has with school along the way. So pretty fun. Logan's actually at work right now. I wondered if you could say a quick thing about how you're balancing, working, developing your career along with training.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like Kevin and Sadie have touched on it, there's multiple ways to skin a cat, right? And for me, I I for some reason like to be really busy. I don't know why. It gives me energy or something. But so I've found since graduating college, it's just I've found a few jobs that have, they've fortunately been really understanding of my ski schedule and flexible. And so I work kind of in the afternoons in between training sessions, and that just gives me a little bit of distraction from the ski world that then keeps skiing fresh every time I go to a training session or things like that. It's just there's something else going on that's keeping my brain chugging along in the background, thinking about something else other than skiing. And that way, then every training session for me personally, then I can focus in on that, and I'm not burnt out of thinking about skiing. So that's just me personally, and so I'm at work right now, but just about to get off, of course. But so it's been a great balance over the years, and for me, I wouldn't have it any other way. But like I said, there's more than one way to do it.
That's right. Well, and speaking of more than one way to do it, this year has certainly been kind of unprecedented with the challenges going on globally. So I wondered if Julie and Kevin can kind of talk about what it's been like to train and prepare for the season this year with different conditions than usual. And if you've experienced kind of any hidden upsides that you've enjoyed, and maybe also speak to what's been extra challenging this year. So Julie, I want you to kick us off.
Yeah, so it's definitely been an unusual year. I think a lot of us experienced this surge of energy and passion just to get outside, especially early on in April. And so I think for a lot of us athletes, it's been a big training year. People have gotten out early, people that we were excited to train earlier. Our race season got cut short, so we had this extra energy that people were putting into other places early on. So for me, I would say that I started training a lot earlier and more consistently. We didn't travel to camps, and for me, that's probably been the biggest challenge. So I'm the type of person, I love camps. I love being social, going to camps. It's a hyper-focused environment. I get to see other athletes, like all of these guys that I don't see normally throughout the year. And it just kind of breaks up the same schedule every day. And so for me, that's been definitely the downside to COVID. But on the upside, I think consistency has been a big thing for me. Training's a lot easier when you don't have to travel and spend days recovering from that. And working more regularly with coaches day in and day out. And I'm fortunate enough where I'm in Stratton and I have a really good team to train with. We're really close. We work really hard together every day, and it's just really fun. And I found that our team got even closer through all of this because we had to trust one another, and we had to spend a lot of days together and keep it exciting because we didn't have those refreshing breaks at training camps or other things. So it's been a really unusual year, and I think it'll be interesting to see how people feel in the winter. But I think that it's always important to see the positives, and I always try to do that. Every situation makes you more flexible athlete, and it's challenging, but I think it helps you grow, and a little bit of change helps you become a better person and a better skier. So yeah, it's been an interesting year. I'm really excited to head on the road and get to see all of you guys, because it's been sad not to connect with other teammates and everything's been over Zoom. But yeah.
Cool. Kevin, what's this year been like for you?
Oh man, I'm worried now. Like Julia's saying she's been training all April. I didn't do much in April. I was kind of just chilling. So hopefully that'll pay off. Maybe, I don't know. But it's been a great year. I mean, yeah, there's been ups and downs, and I came home once our season got axed because of everything, and just took a lot of me time to try and figure out how I best wanted to approach everything. And it was the first time in 6 summers I've been here in the US, and I haven't been over in Norway. So that was a little bit of adaptation to life and how I was going to create a training plan. And I also decided to live in Park City this year versus Sun Valley, or be in Norway, obviously. So that was different as well, because I haven't trained at a full summer year at altitude. So there was just a lot of new things, but I was really excited about it because they're just going to be just different, shake things up, change things a little bit, which I think is important in our sport because it can get a little bit monotonous or a lot of repetition. So I was excited to get out to Park City, and I finally did. And one of the big decisions was because all of our camps were going to be in Park City this year, and we were going to be together as a team in Park City. It was going to be great, and I was going to be there, and it was going to be awesome. And none of that was able to happen, unfortunately. So yeah, it was just a lot of just to the drawing board, and I was able to use the Center of Excellence a lot, kind of our home base, and work with our strength coach one-on-one, which I've never been able to do all summer. And that in itself is just like huge benefits, I think, and having those resources there and knowing that for training, and it was good. It was clean, no COVID in the gym. So that was really nice, reassuring. But yeah, the upside I think is way more important on the downside, because I think a lot of people are focusing on what sucks. And I kind of like to just think that if you boil everything down and you don't think about that, you think about, it's day by day by day. Think about all the positives that we are going to have a season. Everything that we're doing is eventually going to lead up towards a race, whether it's in Ruka in a couple weeks or whenever it is, it's going to happen. So like what we're doing is there's an end goal, there's a purpose, all the goals that we make every year. We're going to be able to cross those off, check them off. And I'm psyched. I mean, I don't really want to focus on what could happen. You just kind of keep going. No reason to dwell on the negative stuff.
Well, you make a good point. I think what's cool about cross-country skiing is every day you go out, you're adding another block to the pyramid. And this year looks a little bit unconventional, but a lot of great work has been done, perhaps more work, more training than ever before because of the consistency, like Julia said. So let's turn our attention to this season. And Logan and Sadie, what is your approach to this season, and what are you looking forward to? And are you ready? Do you have a plan to adapt? Logan, why don't you go first?
All right. Yeah. So yeah, this season's going to be a little bit different, one could say, for sure. There's a lot of unknown still, even more than other years. Most years, the unknown is, what races you're going to be racing, where you're going to be flying to, things like that. These unknowns are whether the races are even going to happen, and then COVID policies, how that's going to change and everything. So man, it's and that's something I struggle with is being more flexible and spontaneous, I guess. And so that's going to be the name of the game this year. And so yeah, I'm definitely trying to just enjoy these starts that I do have, because there were some World Cups that got canceled here recently, and so we don't know how many we're going to get. So every one you have, I'm focusing pretty hard on it, because it's we don't know what the rest of the season will look like. So that's the big that's kind of how I'm approaching it. But yeah, it's gonna be just trying to be flexible and understanding other, everyone's concerns about health and everything like that. Yeah, I hope I'm ready to adapt, but we'll find out in 6 days. But yeah, it'll be good. So yeah, we'll make it work one way or the other.
For myself, it's a little bit of a different season. I've been racing full time on the World Cup for I need to calculate this because I keep thinking about this, but I want to say it's 7 years, maybe 6. And so this year I've decided to take a little bit of a different approach. As much as I love living in a hotel room for 4.5 months, I decided I was going to try living a little bit more like some of my competitors, in the fact that I'm going to base out of France this year, in between races, and spend a little bit more time. My husband is French, and so he's a ski instructor in the wintertime. So I'll get to come home to him each weekend and then recharge and come back and race. And in addition, I have decided to not go on until period 2, until after Christmas. You know, it's like, yeah, it's a long season. We don't know what's coming. There's a lot of unknown. And so for me, that's meant just kind of condensing my energy and focusing for kind of the mid part of the season. We have World Championships at the end of March, at the end of February, beginning of March, which is a little bit later than it generally is. And I always feel like I come into period 1 like on fire, and then sometimes like have a little bit of a rough part in the middle of the season. And after thinking about it last winter when I was trying to figure out what was going on, ironically, I actually had a conversation with Therese Johag, and she was like, do you think you're tired, or do you think you're mentally tired? And I was like, no, I'm tired. But it made me think about it. You know, there's like a lot of things that feed into me ski racing fast. And as we talked about before, like I need balance in my life, but also I really need happiness. And for me, finding happiness is like, you know, being fresh and really excited to show up on the start line. And so I'm planning on bringing my usual Ruka energy mid-season when these guys need some like little energy buddies in the middle. So it'll be really fun. You know, there's some races going on in Alaska. I'm actually going up to race in Fairbanks next weekend, which is pretty fun. And in Logan's hometown, he's celebrating. I'm pulling out my cold skis for the first time of the year. We don't generally race on cold skis. There's a lot of new fun pieces. I have been with my husband for 10 years and I've never spent a birthday with him. So I will be celebrating my birthday in Fairbanks with him and some others. So it'll be really cool to kind of share with Alaska, you know, share a high level of ski racing with Alaska. Like all of us spend most of our time overseas racing, and we don't always get to connect with the communities that we're part of, and even to really say thank you. And so I look forward to kind of being a part of Alaska and then being a little energy buddy mid-season for these guys.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I think, you know, it's all about mindset, right? And you can go into the season with a certain plan, but being ready to adapt and whatever comes and taking advantage of those opportunities, I think is a really good way to approach it. And I think all of our listeners can probably think about that as you head into your season. You know, you're gonna take advantage of each chance you get. So so thinking kind of beyond this season, I wondered if we could just go around real quick, and if everyone could give us what their long-term goal, big goal is in ski racing. If you have one, that's what gets you out the door every day. So let's go. We got Logan on the top of the screen. We'll start with you, and then we'll go around the room.
All right. Well, I was fortunate enough to be at the Olympics in 2018, and so my big goal as it stands is don't just be there in 2022, but try to make something happen there. So that's my big push, and that gets me out the door. So 2022 Beijing skate sprint.
All right, Julia.
I would say similarly, Beijing 2022, or even down the road. I think witnessing Kikkan and Jesse's gold medal was truly inspiring, and so just following in the footsteps of them and hoping to continue to break history for U.S. cross-country skiing.
Awesome. All right, Sadie.
My big goal would be to stand on the top step. I've actually never won a World Cup. I've stood on a few steps, but never on the top.
Perfect. That's a good one. Kevin?
Yeah, actually, mine would be my grandmother passed away like over a year ago. And before she died, she was like, you know, if you don't make the Olympics, I'm going to haunt you for the rest of your life. So that's what gets me out the door. I do not need her haunting me for the rest of my life. But more on a serious note, it's like Logan said, I think my goal is always not to just go to the Olympics, because I didn't go to the last one. And it's to go there and, you know, have a result that I'm happy with and that the country's happy with. And if I can be as fortunate as you are and bring home a gold, I mean, that's the ultimate goal. I think that's every kid's dream, is to bring home a gold medal for their country. So That's what it's all boils down to, is that. And that's what gets me out the door every day.
Awesome. Well, we have the added bonus of knowing it's possible now. Cool. Well, as we look ahead to this season, we know that all these awesome big goals cannot be achieved without great equipment. So we're going to tag it over to Steve Reeder, our head of USA Nordic, to show us some of the gear we can look forward to this season. Take it away, Steve.
Thanks, Kikkan. I'd like to start by saying, like Sadie and Julia, even though I'm older and older than Kikkan, I'm not afraid to say that I have a Kikkan poster up on my wall as well. So thank you. And we're thrilled that Kikkan, despite ending her competitive career, is still very active in the brand, and she's such a great spokesperson for the sport. And yeah, we're thrilled to have her staying on with the brand here. But to give you a quick peek at what's happening and what this group of athletes will be skiing on this year, we just want to give you a quick hit on the equipment that they will be using. And we'll start with the SpeedMax skis. This has been our primary World Cup ski for a number of years, but it's had a few tweaks in the last few years. You know, it started with a hole in the tip, which reduces the swing weight of the ski. But we have some new visual technology, the gliding sidewall, where we're actually using the same material that's on the base on the sidewall to reduce friction and increase the speed of the ski. One of the key elements that you really can't see is a new construction technique that they call cold base bonding, and that is a process where they actually put the base on after the ski comes out of the mold. The base is never subjected to the heat and pressure that is used in the ski mold, so the material is unbelievable. It absorbs wax very well. It's very flat. It grinds very well, and it just simply has produced faster skis for us. So that's the primary ski that's being used at the World Cup. That is coupled with the turnamic binding setup, which is also a relatively new feature with Fischer. This is our binding setup for both all of our race and recreational skis, and it's a little bit different than what had been done in the past. It's a two-piece plate. It's all designed to allow the ski to flex better. So the binding is actually pinned in one as well. And then the componentry to help with the energy transfer is full carbon components, both in the heel and in the upper cuff here. One note for those that are looking for increased performance, there is a new option below that. This is kind of the cousin to the SpeedMax. This is the Carbon Light, where you have the same carbon components, but rather than a one-piece carbon chassis sole, it's got a regular P-Bax race sole on it. So it helps keep the price down a little bit. But this is a great combination. This gives you the performance that you expect with a really nice fit and feel. Okay. And then a new member with this. We bought this a couple of years ago. Currently, Kikkan is the only one on today's panel that's sporting one way, but this is the new Premio 20 SLG, which is our top end World Cup pole. It's an ultra high modulus pole, really nice swing weight, really stiff. This has been improved significantly over previous generations, both in lightweight and in stiffness. So you'll start to see more of that from Fischer as well. So that's a quick hit on the equipment that will be used at the World Cup. If you need more info on that, you can boy, they're fast, you know. You can visit fischersports.com or go check these out at your local ski shop. So, Kikkan?
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, I'll tell you, having been on Fischer skis for a long time, it's amazing the technological innovations. I mean, the skis that I won that gold medal on in 2018 already are old news. I mean, these Speedmax with the 3D and the gliding sidewall, incredible improvements. The binding system, you know, everything really engineered to work together now. It's just amazing. So it's a great era to be a ski racer with all this great technology. So we've got a little time now to answer some questions that have been coming to us through YouTube. So we're going to pop those up on the screen, and with our athletes, if anyone wants to jump in right away, otherwise I can pick to see who wants to answer each one of these. So Gordon Curtis says, do you have a favorite venue to compete in? Sadie, I'll go with you since you have probably the most World Cup starts so far out of this group.
Oh, I hate to say it, it's in Norway. Unfortunately, it's Oslo. I mean, I started there. I told the story about the incredibleness. It doesn't get any better than that.
I mean, it is a pretty incredible atmosphere. I mean, it's just so cool to see how culturally they just celebrate the sport. Everybody out there knows your name. They cheer for you like they're your best friend, and it's a pretty exciting place to race. So awesome. Anyone else want to add a favorite that's not Norway?
Yeah, I would say World Championships in Seefeld were that venue's hard to beat, from the scenery and then the people and the non-racing trails as well. That's one of my favorites for sure. It's always fun to go back in between World Cups as well and just ski there. So yeah, Seefeld, Austria.
Awesome. All right, next question. Tech guru running the scenes here. Ooh, I like the screenshot there. Julia, what did you learn from skiing at Weston? Was it coincidence that your first World Cup medal was on a small track of wet snow? You'd be referring to your first World Cup podium last season in Dresden.
Yeah, so I would say it definitely was a lot like Weston. It was freezing rain, sleeting, lightning, everything in between. And it was just true New England weather. I was like, oh, it's a rainy day. I got this. I grew up skiing in this. And so we were in Planica, and the course was really icy, pretty flat and narrow. People were flying off the trail left and right. And that's kind of what I grew up skiing on in Weston Ski Track, was flat terrain, but technical corners because you're doing so many laps, and often really icy and dark too. And so it was just true New England weather. And so I think that really prepared me well for it. And some of my teammates actually thought it was so funny. I was so excited it was raining, and that might seem crazy, but on rainy days, I'm like, this is what I know. I know how to deal with this. This is just New England weather at its finest. So Weston Ski Track definitely played a part in that.
Awesome. And my apologies. That's right. It was Planica. It wasn't Dresden, but I've seen you race really fast in Dresden too. So I'm a good point. I think many of us have ended up racing World Cups in some pretty challenging conditions, and they're often conditions that you experience, when you're younger, when you're at a training camp. And so just a good reminder, when conditions are gnarly, get out there and hone those skills, because it might end up being your championship day. All right. Next question. How do you combat pre-race nerves? Kevin, you want to answer this one?
Yeah, I was going to say, don't ask me.
I think for me, I put a lot of faith and trust in what I'm doing all summer and all fall in the preparation that I take. And I just realized that, I trust that I have put the hard work in and that it's going to pay off. So that really helps just kind of calm me down. And like I said way before, like, it is so nerve-wracking seeing all these top World Cup athletes, but when it's all boiled down, they're eating junk food. They're just, everyone's just normal people. We're all, like Logan said, we're all out there just skiing, having fun, doing what we love to do. And if you just simplify everything that around you, it's easier to focus. And that's what calms me down. It's just realizing that we're all just out there having fun. As cliche as that is, it's what it all comes down to.
Yeah, and I was always amazed at how, like, the butterflies I used to have in my stomach when I would do like a local race at 10 years old in Alaska to being on the Olympic stage. Every single time the butterflies are there, but that's a good sign, because that is getting your body ready. And if you can just remind yourself to be confident in the work you've done and just go out there and have fun, that's where the magic happens. So good to all you junior skiers out there, practice that as much as you can, because it does help. The more you do it, the more you learn the strategies that work for you. All right, got another question. Got a freshman in high school and dreams to compete in the 2026 Olympics. All right. Any tips? Logan, you're a fresh a rookie Olympian coming off here. Do you have any tips that helped you make that team, or stuff you're looking forward to for 26?
Man, yeah. Boy, any tips? Freshman in high school. I mean, I think that was right around the age when I first made that goal to eventually go to the Olympics as well. And any tips? You're gonna have a long uphill battle of a lot of work, but it's gonna be worth it. I mean, there's just you gotta enjoy the process and understand that it is a process, right? It's not all going to happen in 1 year, and it might not happen by the time you're out of high school, right? But you start now and you build on that year after year after year, and keep that end goal in focus, and come back from that and make little goals that are going to get you up to that, right? And keep checking those off, and it'll happen. So just other than that, I don't know. It's a lot of work, but it's well worth it. So just set those yearly goals, and you'll make it.
Yeah, I think it's a really good one to say. You know, that's your goal. Put it out there, because why not go for it? You know, it's definitely in a realm of possibility. And Logan, you said it really well, that, you know, figure out those things that you can literally do every day, and build up year after year. And what's cool is you get so focused in the process of every season that all of a sudden the time kind of starts to fly by, and the work adds up, and you might be all of a sudden surprised. All of a sudden you're on the doorstep of making that Olympic team.
Can I add something too?
Yeah, definitely.
I would also say, make sure you find a coach or a team, or your parents or some friends. Find some people to believe in you, because there's definitely, like, it's peaches every day, and it's not fun every day. So making sure you have that coach that doesn't laugh at you when you tell them you want to do that. It's an important thing to surround yourself to.
Very good tip. Very good tip. All right. I think we have time for one more question. Let's throw up that final question. Do the athletes attribute their success to genetics or training, or both? Julia, you have some good genes for this. What do you have to say to this one?
I think genetics can play a role, but you can have the best genes in the world, and if you don't work hard, then nothing's going to come about it. So I think no matter what, the one thing you got going is you can give it your all and do your best, and play to your strengths. People's genes are really different. I've learned that within our own team, we have people who have such different body compositions, genetics, strengths, and weaknesses, and in the end, ski racing is about maximizing your strengths and minimizing your weaknesses. So I think it's definitely a combination of both, but more than anything, working hard.
Yeah, I was only laughing because I'm no genetics didn't make me a ultra runner, uphill runner. That's for sure. That's not my forte. But yeah, no, hard training for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the unique things about cross-country skiing is with the different events we have, it makes a lot of opportunities for different body types, different genetics, different skill sets to develop. And, you see some athletes who have a lot of success early on, but you also see some athletes that put the work in over time and then hit a breakthrough. So it's just one of the coolest sports out there. I think that there's so many different ways to do it, so many opportunities, but by just getting out there and doing it, you are automatically rewarding yourself with assets for a great life, because like everything builds on itself. You're part of an amazing community that has the shared love for skiing, but is there to create different pathways wherever your heart leads. So this has been super fun. I can't believe how quickly an hour has gone by. Thanks to everyone for hanging in through this, all these stories, because now we get to give away for those of you who have registered in the comments on the YouTube channels. So Fischer has been keeping notes on all this, and they will email the winners. We've got some backpacks and pull tubes and great things to give away. So super excited. Big thank you to Fischer for supporting this program, supporting these athletes. We're really excited to see what all of you guys are gonna do this season. I'll be cheering for you up in the middle of the night, ready to watch those races. Hope everything can go as planned. But thanks again for sharing your stories and your insights. And for all you the audience out there, make sure you follow these guys so you can hear about the stories from the road, and we'll be all cheering for you too. So. With that, let's look forward to a great season. I guess we'll scroll the winners here on a couple of the prizes. But thanks again for sharing your time tonight, guys. It was really, really good to see everybody. Great to have the team together.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kikkan. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Fischer. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
All right. Have a good